Hi there everyone, this is Cloud Chief, and welcome to How to Pull. In this series, I show you how to pull dungeons in Final Fantasy XIV so that you can get through them quickly even with a random dungeon finder group. If you are looking for the fastest possible pulls that require an elite team, then this is not for you. But if you are looking for the best way to lead a group through a solid run, then you are in the right place. So get ready to pull like a pro. In today's video is Fractal Continuum. This dungeon is one of the current expert dungeons in the 3.05 version. This is one of the latest dungeons, and you should be running this dungeon almost every day if you have a level 60, as this gives esoterics. When you start the dungeon, you'll come in through this room, and you kind of want to hug the middle of the room so that way you can get away from the first guys until you can get these set of mobs. Once you have them all grouped, just get hate on them and let your DPS go to work. They should be focusing mainly on the Dreadnought, but should be AoEing the mobs. After that, you're going to head into this next room, and there will be a bunch of mannequins in the wall with also some of the clockwork guys. Just make sure you gather them all up. And note that on the second group of mannequins, there is a conjurer in the group, so it is a caster, so you want to make sure that you get him pulled out and grouped appropriately if you can. So we got them all grouped up there, and just burn them down, and then we should be going on up to the first boss. Now this boss is quite interesting, as he will pretty much cut the room into 4 quadrants, with having 1 quadrant for each half of the room being taken up in AoE space, and then it'll switch so that the other half will be in AoE space. Also, as tank, he'll do Rapid Servitor, which is like a 4-strike attack. If you can, try and time it so you're popping a defensive cooldown before it lands. It takes a decent amount of time for the boss to ready it, so you can, pop a cooldown easily in time. Other than that, the boss is pretty straightforward, and as long as you're dodging correctly, he's not too much of an issue. Just also make note that every other time he divides the quadrant into quarters like that, then he'll drop these circles. So you're going to have to dodge out from them and then get ready for the next time he's going to, cut the dungeon in half. And just rinse and repeat, and that's pretty much it for the boss. He can hit hard, but as long as you follow these instructions, he's not too bad at all. Okay, so after that, we're then going to come into these rooms, and then you're going to have just a bunch of trash mobs moving around. In this first room, there should be, I think it's just 3 mobs, and then you have the 1 flyer. He can actually move out of the hallway, like almost into the next room, so you want to be aware if you come in there if he's not there. If you can, try and gather all of them. After that, you'll go into this next room, which will have one of those flyers, and then you'll have 3 more guys come out of the wall, because you'll see them there. Just make sure you try and get hate on them. Be careful if your healer's casting at all, because then they can get hate and the mobs can go running after him. Just get them grouped up, and then let your DPS do the work. Then the next room is where it's actually quite interesting. Next room actually has a Chimera in it, and he has all of the Chimera moves. So you want to be ready to try and stun, and also hopefully your DPS is ready to stun, Ram's Voice and Dragon's Voice. If not, you'll want to try and respond appropriately as you should for any of the Chimera moves. Just make sure you get hate on the other 2 adds that pop along with the Chimera, and you should be able to take him down quite easily. After that, we are on to the second boss. Now, this boss is quite tricky. He has standard moves like a Cyclops. He'll do like a frontal swing, then he'll do like a giant swing that's completely around him. But he pretty much always follows this pattern. As the first, he'll just swing right to the front, so you just step behind him and then immediately step back after he's done. His next swing is going to be the giant swing around him, and everyone should get away for when that comes in, because that can do a lot of damage. You can see the DPS didn't dodge there, and then so it's going to take a decent bit to cure him. After that, he does, which is pretty much a knockback. Ideally, you would want all of your party grouped together, so that way he's not going to be dashing all the way around. After he's gone and hit everyone, he'll do a frontal slash move. After that, he goes back and repeats everything again. After the second spin around, he will then move to the center of the room and get ready to do this. So that's when your healer should ideally going and opening the door on there, and that'll bring that out. Then you need to kill the mob before the boss ends up eating the enemy. After that, you just keep burning down the boss. Also, make sure you wait until he does his big circle thing to open the door to let an ad out, because he moves to the center and he doesn't attack anyone for a while, and your DPS can get a lot of damage in on him in that time. Opening it early is just going to start this whole phase again, so it's much easier if you wait. After that, you get teleported back to the beginning, but then you can open up this door to go to the last area. And you come in here, and there's all these enemies. You either need to go all the way to the left or right to get the side ones, and just running in the center will get them all. Just get them all grouped up, and your DPS should be able to make quick work of that. After these guys are all down, make sure the switches hit. And there will be 3 switches in total before you can go to the boss, and then you move to the next area. So once you're here, just make sure you gather all these enemies up. And then once some of the enemies go down, some other enemies will start popping. And there's some circles that'll pop near you guys that will bind you. You can avoid them, but there will be 2 kind of like tower looking mobs that are near where the switch is on both sides of it. They need to be taken out. And then pretty much you do the same thing for here, but note that the droid is a range attacker, so you will need to try and group the rest of the mobs up on the droid. Once you have them all grouped up, your group should be able to AoE them down, and then you can move on to the final boss. So now that we're on the final boss, this is set up by a 4x4 grid, and at different points, the different grids will be, or squares of the grids will be places where you can or cannot stand accordingly. So ideally, you want to tank him right in the middle on the 2 edges there. And the reason for that is that gives you the most space to move around as things happen. Also, ads will pop on one corner, or one side I should say, and then they'll move across the board. DPS should ideally be burning these guys down before they start making squares, you know, places where you can't go, because you don't want to be standing in those blue squares, or else you take a lot of damage. So just tank the boss and try and again tank him in the middle, and then move accordingly when you have to. And that's pretty much it for this boss, but you might have to move him around. Also, he will drop a bomb which will appear as an icon on your status bar, and the healer needs to remove that as you would remove any other debuff on you. So Asuna or any other appropriate spell. And that's pretty much it. Just make sure that your DPS are picking up the ads. You can help with the ads if you're not dragging the boss around. The boss does have some frontal moves, so you want to make sure that he's not, you know, facing your healers or anything while you're trying to help take out any ads. And that's pretty much it for this boss. I hope you got some value out of this guide. I hope this will help you with your pulling for the next time you're in Fractal Continuum. And may you have success in all you do.